dein Heiligtum. Deine Zauber binden wieder, was die Mode streng geteilt. Alle Menschen werden Brüder, wo dein sanfter Flügel weilt. Deine Zauber binden wieder, was die Mode streng geteilt. Alle Menschen werden Brüder, wo dein sanfter Flügel weilt. Die große Hochgelungen meines Freundes Freund zu sein, wer ein holdes Heil errungen, wie schön
Good evening, sock puppets, sociopaths, McGowan heads, to another exciting episode of Stream of Consciousness. I'm your host, John McGowan. You may notice a couple of things. The audio is a lot better, but my voice is a lot worse. And that's because I spent Saturday at the Kembla Grange races screaming at the top of my lungs when Canny Queen, written by Claire Raisebotham, I think her name is, won in race 8 by an absolute whisker at 10-1, with all the boys having the whole bag on it, and so there was a lot of screaming and yelling, and I don't actually raise my voice very often, so today, on the last 2 days, I've been a bit colic, which isn't great when you go live and stream every week. Big news tonight, Avi Yemeni is live streaming like the most boring thing in the world, a Victorian upper house debate. I have no idea why they're doing that. Please don't enlighten me. He's currently doing 4.5 thousand viewers. So if you are a frequent flyer here in the Black Lodge, please retweet and share the stream with everyone you know. Let's see if we can't beat him. Because I know that as soon as we do beat him, he's going to be furiously smashing that boost button on X, and I'd like to waste his money. I think that would be funny to me. Big news today. It's Census Day, or it's Census Week. Census Night is meant to be tonight. You're meant to be filling out your censi. I don't know what the plural of census is. Look, there's been a lot of... I've never seen this before. Out of all the weird things that right-wingers in our country, myself included, have got distracted with over the last few years of growing reactionary radicalization. I never thought the census would be one of them. But here we are, right? We've been treated to like a week and a half of... And I don't use this word lightly because it's kind of a slur. But I think we can take ownership of the word. Cookers. There's been a lot of cookers online telling people how they should fill out their census. Me included. I think I did a post the other day telling people not even to tell the government their religion because it's a clear breach of Section 116 of the Constitution to compel a person to tell the government their religion. But it's a bizarre thing. It's a bizarre thing, and I don't support it. Getting this riled up about it, the whole point of our movement, the whole point of the new conservatism, the new right in our country is this reactionary impulse. It is about going back to a time when things were better. And the census, and the Australian Bureau of Statistics more broadly, are part of that matrix of things that made our country great in years gone by. Australia has once upon a time had these really strong institutions, had great policies that enriched our country. Now, things have declined. There's no doubt. Things don't work anymore. Things don't work as well anymore. Some things have collapsed entirely. As we fight to restore our country, I just don't think it's wise to kind of throw that baby out with the bathwater. You might not like where the questions are on the census. Sure, I don't either. I think that's a really deliberate thing they're doing. And they should stop, and they should be ruthlessly apolitical. But that doesn't mean that everyone should stop filling out the census. And it certainly doesn't mean that we should promulgate these just complete fantasies about how the government is, harvesting up all our data through the census, because that's just frankly horse shit. If federal authorities had any access to the census, I mean, do you think that there'd be any unsolved crimes? Do you think, come on, right? They don't use the census for anything other than macro level policy making. Now, look, I get the arguments on things like religion, on things like race and ethnicity, that, maybe there are issues there. But, I mean, isn't the issue for everyone just you should tell the truth? I mean, both things can be used positively by us, I think it would be enormously beneficial to Australians to see the real character of our country right now, to see the real demographics. And so I really question whether or not the people who are saying, questioning how things should be answered are really acting in good faith. I really do. And, we don't even know who half these people are. The online right in our country is a pretty small community, and a bunch of AI slop accounts show up saying, oh, make sure you write in Christian or whatever, or just don't fill it out entirely. I mean, I just can't help feeling that those people are bad actors, I don't think the future of right-wing and conservative politics in our country should be about destroying institutions. It should be about fixing them. And it should be about purging the people in those institutions who are destroying them. And I don't think the reaction from a lot of the online right over the last few weeks has really been about that. Which kind of brings me to, just one second, I'm going to turn the heater off. I blast the heater for the first 15 minutes while the intro plays to warm up the room, and then it gets too warm, and then I have to turn it back on again at the halfway mark. Which brings us to, I've just figured out what Avi Yemeni's doing on his stream, which brings us to that, which goes directly to what I've just been talking about, right? Because what is that joker doing, right? He started this bullshit Free Palestine party, right? He's exploiting the electoral commission's loophole, the process for registering parties. Not to fix institutions, not to fix the institution of the Australian electoral system, not to fix the institution of the Victorian Parliament. No, he did it to undermine it, right? And I just can't support that at all, And at a time when the White Australia Party, whether you think they're right or wrong, they're in the High Court trying to, use the institution of the Australian electoral system in the right way to advocate for their cause, whether you think it's right or wrong, to, use their free speech, their freedom of political communication, which we allegedly have in this country. It just strikes me that doing a joke party like that is quite the opposite. And again, it just feels like the actions of a bad actor, a bad faith actor, and I can't get behind it. And so now, of course, they're all, carping and moaning about the changes to group ticketing in Victoria. Look, it's it's nothing. Who cares about group ticketing? It doesn't matter what kind of ticketing you have. You still have to get votes. You still have to get primary votes at the end of the day. Right? People, particularly people who are engaged in politics in this country, waste too much time on the minutiae of the rules and preferencing and, how the parties work, like how you register a party, instead of doing what has to be done come election time, which is convincing people to vote for you and voting for your platform, right? And the thing with so many of these people who get involved at this level, like they're having a laugh with dumb electoral commission filings level, or undermining the census level, they're not doing that. They don't have any skin in the game. They're not running for a seat, right? So it all just becomes a sideshow. And what's it going to achieve long term? A few headlines, few Musk bucks, right? When we started this stream last year, I was looking at this before on YouTube. When I was going live, I saw on the live page, there were 41 videos on there. So, and more or less, we've done this every week. I think if I tally up which ones we've missed, I have a sneaking suspicion that next Tuesday is the 1-year anniversary of SOC. I think it was about this time in 2025 that we started it. And when we started it, I didn't have a job. I was stone cold broke. I would get a client shortly after, but I remember the week that we did it, talking to Brian and say, hey, maybe we could make a go of this. Maybe we could become full-time hirsute e-girls or something. And we didn't go through with it because as fun as this is, I don't want to do this for a living. I don't, I enjoy it as a hobby, but it's not something I want to do every single day. I don't want to be wandering around with a cameraman and, interviewing people at protests and that kind of stuff. That doesn't do it for me. So the reason why we get so many more viewers than Avi, we were already at like 1,100 viewers after the first 10 minutes. So we're going to eclipse Avi soon. But the reason why we do get those views is I pay for them, right? I press the boost button. And I can do that because this is like a hobby. I do this as something pleasurable. I enjoy it. I look forward to streaming with you guys every week. Because to me, like, our politics and what we do for a living should be separate, because otherwise they undermine each other, right? Otherwise, no one really knows where you stand. And the monetization regime online, I think, has become increasingly toxic. That now we look at so many of these guys and we ask ourselves, like, is this really what they believe in, or are they just doing this for clicks, right? I don't do any of this for clicks at all. In fact, this costs me $150 a week. And it's been the proudest thing for me, becoming modestly successful in the last 12 months, that I can afford to do it. And I can afford to buy a new microphone after the last microphone incident from last week where I sounded like shit. And, when we started this, we were calling like guys like Topher and Big Choco or whatever his name is. We're calling them out, calling it a grift, which was really just a point of differentiation. As the time has rolled on, I think it's a bit more dangerous than merely a grift, and I think it's becoming increasingly toxic to Australian politics. I think it's extremely positive. Watch, Elon Musk has announced, or Nikita Beer from Twitter, and no, X, sorry, has announced regarding creator contributions, right? And they're changing the whole system, and they're going to, make it a bit more specific about the kinds of things you talk about and the audiences you target and the actual relative content of them. We're going to see less slop. Hopefully we're going to see less, live streams with a little alarm light saying breaking in them. We're going to see, content that people really care about, for audiences who really care about them. Because at the end of the day, that's what this is. This is an entertainment product, not a political product, right? This is the equivalent of an open mic night. Not, political collateral. That's what it should be. I worry that those lines are getting blurred in Australia. They're getting blurred because, one institution that has been utterly destroyed, was destroyed by the people in it, and it's too late to save it, is, of course, the Australian mainstream media. Right? There's not going back for them. We're never going to go back to the glory days of the Bulletin and Channel 9 News and a Current Affair under... from the early 1990s. We're never going to go back to those outlets having that kind of relevance. And the media is going to change dramatically. But that doesn't mean we need to take it to its logical extreme. Doesn't mean we have to take it to the nth degree, as some people are. Speaking of the nth degree, the Noticer is back, now known as N News. So congratulations to the guys, wherever you are, who run the Noticer. I had a brief chat to the editor last week. They are pretty stoked to be back online. They got some great engagement from all of you, from all of us who donated to them, which, again, like a bunch of guys who never asked for a cent from anyone. Hopefully they've got enough... got enough cash in the bank now to keep going for a little while. I understand they've been demonetized on a couple of meta platforms, so they're going to have to make up the hole in the budget from that. So whenever you see this stuff, make sure you retweet it, so they can keep that operation ticking along, because it's one of the most important ones in the country. That's contributed so much to the movement. I mean, if it wasn't for Noticer, how much stuff wouldn't have happened in the last 12 months? Speaking of 12 months, it's the anniversary of the March for Australia in just a few weeks, and Which brings us to the weekly scene drama. There's been like a split, although there was already a split inside March for Australia, and now we have the March for Australia and the March for Freedom, or whatever Beck Freedom's thing is, and I think they're angry about it. Look, I've been critical on the marches before, but I think what Ozpil's doing with it's pretty valuable because I think free speech is really an important thing to reflect on right now, and it is something that if you go back to the March for Australia 12 months ago, and none of these guys were talking about immigration, none at all. Now they're all talking about immigration. So I think the idea behind the two groups was they maybe thought, well, now if we push the boundary out to talking about remigration, maybe they'll all talk about remigration. Now that's never going to happen in a million years here. But I think Ozpil's strategy was smarter, which is, well, let's put something new on the ledger. Let's put something new into the Australian kind of political ecosystem, which is, demonstrate how many Australians are really mobilised on the question of free speech. And I mean, the noticer stuff is one really great example of that. But there's a lot of others, you had the Giggle v Tickle thing. You've had people getting cancelled. They're having a whole royal commission right now into it. In New South Wales, they're doing an ICAC into the freedom of political communication of right wingers to organise and fundraise to fight policies they don't agree with. So, is it as important as immigration? Probably not, because I mean, my absolutely honest view is that the degradation of freedom of speech in our country is actually a consequence of out-of-control mass migration in so many ways. Because if you turn back the clock 20 years, I mean, no one was going to erode, no politician wanted to erode Australians' freedom of speech because it wouldn't have been popular. But when you start changing the demographics and you start bringing in large cohorts of people for whom freedom of speech isn't that important, for whom they've come from countries where freedom of speech was non-existent, and they don't even know how to use or want freedom of speech. Of course, it's going to be diminished in the electorate's eyes, and thus diminished in the eyes of the politicians. And so it's not surprising that particularly over the last decade, politicians have thought they can just get away more and more with undermining Australians' freedom of speech, because the cohort of people who are going to aggressively fight for it, they're declining in so many key seats. So look, I think that's really positive. Look, there's not one in Hobart, and I probably wouldn't go to it anyway. But if there is one near you and you do care about freedom of speech, I do encourage you to go and support that. What else do we have going on this week, guys? And I probably missed some stuff last week. We had a really great show last week. If you didn't catch it, replay it on our YouTube channel or scroll back through my old streams on X. We had John Ruddock on, New South Wales, leader of the Libertarian Party. He was kicking a lot of goals last week in Parliament, talking about a lot of things we all care about, and him and I were especially agitated about the New South Wales ICAC thing, which I'm not going to talk too much about that this week because I know it bores a lot of people if you're not, aggressively into the minutiae of New South Wales Liberal politics. But yeah, do go back and watch that one. That ICAC thing's still rolling on. It's still just as bad. There's still no clear reason why they're doing it, except to attack various Catholics. What else we got in the chat, guys? Well, from some new faces. Welcome, everyone. New people from YouTube. Yeah, it's not lost on anyone about the N News thing. Bully Bullpit says John pleasures himself with us sock puppets. Yeah, I do, man. Yep. Rowan C says Kevin Bottom is like a Japanese zero suicide fighter with group vote ticketing. Yeah, he is. But I mean, look, I generally on these things just err on the side of whatever Kevin thinks I agree with. He's a pretty good head on that stuff. I mean, he's not really too much of our, he's not one of our guys politically, but I think at a policy level, I do enjoy his stuff. Dr. Tradcon, who's a great old head and hero of the movement, says you're calling upon the ghost of Russell Kirk tonight, which is not a bad thing. Realism grounding the right wing, not utopianism. Yeah, look, I do get a bit frustrated with that because People have to be clear-eyed about what's possible and what's not impossible. And we're living in incredible times. I mean, once upon a time, we would have said it was impossible for anyone to even continents one nation government, and yet here we are. Such a thing is entirely possible now. So some things like that are possible, but eradicating the census and banning vaccines and whatever, I don't think that's possible. Michael Wapples says, what's going to happen to the Shooters Party? Will One Nation wipe them out in New South Wales? Your opinion on Borzak? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, One Nation are really good on gun laws. Probably better on them in a lot of... Well, there's two things to unpack there. The Shooters have been amazing on gun laws when they've had the balance of power. They've done good work for shooters and fishers. But when they don't have the balance of power... Because so much of their bargaining posture, when they do, revolves around, this brings me to the point about Robert Borzak. For those of you who don't know, Robert Borzak's the long-serving leader of the Shooters and Fishers Party in New South Wales, who's once upon a time had a great deal of influence. But because when they do have the balance of power, they're just pricks. Then when they don't, they go into long periods of not getting anything done. Because no one wants to deal with them, because everyone remembers what pricks they were when they were needed. One Nation have not held the balance of power anywhere yet where they could act like that. And, we'll see how they're going to act in those environments if they ever get there. So, I do kind of think in that respect, particularly in New South Wales, maybe less so in other jurisdictions, but particularly in New South Wales, the Shooters are a bit of a spent force. I also think that the argument on gun laws is shifting a bit into an area that the Shooters and Fishers Party are just not comfortable engaging with, and that comes out of places like Victoria and Queensland, where the argument is now no longer just about, and actually Tasmania as well, and we've got Philip Bigg in here, who's a Tasmanian SFP guy, and I'd love to get his opinion on something I'm going to say in a minute. The Shooters and Fishers had a really clear policy position on guns where while they said like they didn't support the Howard gun laws, to be able to negotiate from a position of strength in those environments where they held the balance of power, they were always like outwardly supportive of the National Firearms Agreements and its underpinning values. And of course, one of those is that Australian licensed firearms license holders cannot use their firearms for home defence. Right? Now, that's been the stated policy of the Shooters and Fishers for many, many years, to the point where, I mean, they're really the Sporting Shooters and Fishers Association, because they don't really advocate for firearms in any way other than as a sport and for hunting. There's a real changing attitude about that out there as a result of the out-of-control crime you see in so many Australian suburbs. And as a result of growing distrust in the government, I must say. Today in the Tasmanian Parliament, there's a really interesting question asked of Tasmania's police minister, a guy called Felix Ellis, who's like really based, like just an unusually based progressive state MP. And a Green asked him, would he ban signs on farm gates that say trespassers will be shot? And he answered it so elegantly, and he said, well, we condemn violence with firearms, but we also condemn trespassing. And that's a matter for individual farm holders. Like, he didn't go there, which I thought was really interesting. And I do find you're hearing more and more, like, people talk about castle laws, talking about stand your ground laws. We had a case down here in Tasmania where a man was beaten within an inch of his life, had 9 firearms stolen, and then his house burned down. And of course, he couldn't use those firearms to defend himself, because under gun laws, you got to have guns stored in one place, ammunition stored in another place. And so I think this is really percolating out there amongst right-wingers. And, One Nation are in a much better position to talk about the role of guns in Australian society, more so than, and again, this is another criticism I have of the SFP, is that they get too bogged down in the minutiae about barrel lengths and whether you can own a suppressor or, you know, those kinds of things. When really that's the political question, the role of firearms in Australian society. And progressives and liberals got out in front of that 30 years ago and effectively said there wasn't one, right? But I think that's really changing out there. And maybe, I mean, that's what One Nation should be capitalizing on. Not, you know, whether or not you can, you know, you can paint your gun black, or if you can have a lever action Adler shotgun or anything. I think all that's a sideshow. You know, we see it expressed, through like, you know, licensing for children and teaching kids how to shoot and when kids can participate. Like, that goes to the heart of, you know, what is the role of guns in our country? What is the culture of firearm ownership going to be like? And of course, it's complicated again by the fact that, you know, the two guys who did the Bondi shooting, right? They were fully licensed firearms owners. So then, you know, whilst your instinct might be, yeah, we're Australians, we should have a right to own guns, then you have to be kind of realistic and say, okay, well, we live in a country where, like 20% of people, I just don't think should have guns, right? And in other places where guns are more prominent, I mean, that percentage is kind of lower. But having said that, I think it is all really important, and I do hope One Nation take it seriously, especially because it just shaves off more primary that they can get, shaves it off from the Nationals, shaves it off from the shooters and fishers. So that's going to be interesting. Someone says, John, what are your thoughts on the high-profile Queensland married man extramarital affair suppression order? I mean, the thing with high-profile people is, who you're better off saying, like, which one isn't having an extramarital affair. I have no idea who that one is. So, I like, who cares who's having extramarital affairs? So that's become a major fixture in ICAC at the moment. And it was actually revealed today that the story wasn't even that the guy was having an extramarital affair. It was that he evaded COVID lockdowns, which I thought was really funny. Swing State says minor right-wing parties will be wiped out. Look, I don't know. I don't think they'll be wiped out, but I think they'll drop down to the primary from those periods where, you know, like when Tony Abbott won in 2013, when, you know, Liberal Conservatives were kind of ascendant. You will probably see them drop down to that level. Some of them will drop down to sub 2%, some sub 1%. I mean, I think probably the only ones, I mean, Rennick will kind of cling on to his now very specific kind of Rennick voter cohort, who are kind of like Australia's answer to the Citizens Electoral Council and Lyndon LaRouche at this point. Like, guys who are just super into Jared Rennick thought. So, I mean, I think he'll survive on a low number, and maybe with preferences, maybe he could sneak through. The Libertarians will survive. But certainly some of the dicier ones, I don't think so. And the most interesting one will, of course, be the UAP. I mean, those guys are still blowing millions of dollars a week on advertising for nil return. So, Mr. Mispick, what's that? Mr. Mix's Picture says Lyndon LaRouche was a Democrat. Yeah, and Jared Rennick was a Liberal. Like, do you see the comparison? The other reason my voice was fucked this week is because not only did I spend the weekend yelling at horses, I also smoked cigarettes, which is absolutely miserable. I don't recommend you do it. Get one of these, start vaping. Do not smoke cigarettes, guys. They're ruinous. And Andrew A. Hennessy says, will you be applying for the next round of the Journalism Assistance Fund? Yeah, I think we should. I absolutely think we should. I mean, that doesn't count towards the, you know, undermining institutions thing. That's ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. Well done, Jordan Knight, for bringing that to everyone's attention this week. I mean, the Fairfax Press, we think, got $8 million from the last journalism assistance fund. 8 million. I did the maths because Channel 9, Nine Entertainment's a publicly listed company. You can go online, you can see their financial returns, and you can look at their earnings and their revenue and figure out what their financial position is. Not great. But if they didn't have that $8 million, it would have been dire. Right? That $8 million like kept them, I think their margin was like, I think their variance was like 1% in the last financial papers. And they actually credited that the 1% to being the $8 million they got saved in defamations. So if they hadn't had, like, if they had have not had the 8 million on top of that, it could have been below zero. It's crazy. And they're just doing it because they hate the tech companies. Because, you know, there's 3,400 people watching right now. You're not getting those kind of numbers on Fairfax live streams, are you? Right? Because this is where people go to get their news now. Oh, we're doing really well, guys. We're going to beat Avi very soon. Avi's sitting on 4.8k. So we're just streaking up there. This is great. When we do hit 4.8k, I'm going to celebrate by putting on a new anime edit or something. And then just taking a screenshot. So it looks like I got more viewers than Avi just from watching anime. I might just actually click on it and see what he's even doing right now. What's he doing? Is that... Wait, guys. Is that Monica Schmidt? Is he live streaming with Monica Schmidt? Am I going crazy? Can someone else log in? Just, if you follow Avi, go to the front page of X, click on his stream. It's got like Avi, Rukshan, and then in the middle there's a blonde lady that looks just like Monica Schmidt. Is that real? Chat, is this real? Maybe I'm just going to look up Monica Schmidt and see if... Because surely if she was on it, I mean, surely she would say something. Nope, it's her, guys. I think it's her. She retweeted it 7 hours ago. Skull says get it up. I mean, should we get it up and just take the piss out of him, guys? I don't want to put the audio on. Monica Schmidt, really? With the fucking the things, the electromagnetic interference devices. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. Step one. Let's pull up Avi's live stream on one screen. I think I can only share one tab at a time. And then I'm going to go, let's go to Monica Schmidt's website. Schmidt website. Okay. All right, here we go. Monica Schmidt. All right, this is going to be fun. So we're going to present share, and then we're going to present on the other one. Oh, so you can only present one at a time. That's really annoying.
If this is the subject
I'm going to turn
your
it down.
amendment, this issue, which I'm sure we'll get into when we get to talking through and dealing
She doesn't
with
look like she knows what's going on.
We don't support the that is the approach. We believe
They're
that,
just sitting there, like just watching
review
Parliament.
must also examine and make recommendations in relation.
Hold on,
to
I'm gonna
the
mute it in
Victorian
case
electoral
it's
system,
tedious,
including the operation and the effectiveness of any political donation disclosure scheme and the effective.
They're obviously doing big numbers on YouTube. Good for them. I mean, that's YouTube though. They haven't said anything.
So it was a very specific review that was agreed to.
They're just sitting there watching it.
Bill that the chamber dealt with a couple of months ago, and the further.
Okay, forget about that. While we're watching that, we'll come back to that. But in the meantime, let's just go to Monica Schmidt. Yeah, let's just go to Monica Schmidt's website. This is the kind of stuff she's into. Like, this is her current bio, her current campaign. She's got the Truth Truck, Cash More app. Like, where's her shop? I want to go to the shop. Hang on. Where can we? She's going on a New Zealand tour. She kind of looks. Oh, this was in February of 2026. My mission is for you to leave this event feeling more connected, empowered. Who even are these people? It's crazy, man. Anyway, I'm just going to leave it up here with the sound off for the time being. If we see any of them,
back to this last bill though, where we all agreed, I think that
Sebastian says, why would you stream this? But then on the same level, why would I stream them streaming this? Isn't that kind of the same?
Whether or not the current donation scheme was a good idea. Surely
what are they even waiting for? Is what I want to know.
Electoral system, which arguably is a bigger deal.
The whole thing is just nuts. It's bonkers.
Should also be independent. Is it not the case that on the electoral?
Yeah, I can't believe that. That's crazy, man.
Will most likely be beneficiaries of this new system.
I'm just fucking around with my camera. I moved too close to the camera. My white balance fucked up.
Well, I can't.
I did my white
what
balance
the makeup of
earlier.
The next parliament will be, Mr.
For
Levick,
once.
and I wouldn't want
That's
to,
better, slightly better now.
predetermine
I think that's
what
closer to my
exactly
actual
about these
pinkish
matters.
complexion.
I know you've got an amendment, and I know that we'll.
Monica Schmidt does look really bored. She looks really bored, just squeezed in there between Rukshan and Avi, not saying anything. But she's just sitting there going, "I'm not selling any electromagnetic interference devices right now." It's only a matter of time before he eclipses them. I'm going to leave it up until we tick over them. So everyone just keep an eye on what their numbers are, because I can't have the numbers at the same time.
Factual observation that the new member
this casual streaming Victorian Parliament. And can we just reflect on the fact that what are they even doing in Victorian Parliament? What's going on with this guy? Why aren't they wearing a tie?
And therefore,
why isn't he wearing a tie?
It should be biased in favour of the current
system. What would you just show up looking like a slob? That's crazy.
Minister?
Okay, he's now on 4.9. I'm convinced that he
to be able to crystal ball what may happen in the new parliament.
Yeah. It's like Rotterdam in there, am I right?
Thank you, Deputy President. Minister, is the government committed to...
I've just started wearing a tie again and a pocket square. I'm doing pocket squares now. I'm like a little fancy boy when I go to work.
She already answered that.
Yeah, all under the races on the weekend. Felt great.
Yeah.
He's just going to say, I can't...
Yeah.
Not at this time.
Yeah, we need, like, on NHK in the mornings, they always have the little face that does the emotions, so you know what to feel about things. We need that for this stream.
Just in relation
Yeah, it is about their Free Palestine Party electoral scam. That's I did gather that much.
Been allocated any
Because they somehow think that, I think from what I've gathered, they think that they are the ones who caused this group ticketing thing.
I've already answered this question.
Which I have a strong suspicion is total horse shit. But well, we shall see.
Has not sought any additional
How much further are we off from beating him? We're on 4.5, he's in 4.9. Let's go. Let's go. Once we tick over, I'm turning this off because this sucks. This massively sucks. Mind you, we've been going this whole time. They haven't said a single thing. Not one single thing. I haven't seen their lips move, and I've got it like zoomed all the way in. Avi's just scratching his beard like, I'm interested in the Victorian Parliament. He's probably not even watching the Victorian Parliament.
No one bloody knows how it works now. What do you mean?
Oh, finally he said something. Did you hear that? He just said something. It's probably because he's streaming the stream of consciousness.
On an ongoing basis, Ms. Payne. But again, that's a matter for the VEC in terms
What
of
are they
how
waiting for? I don't know. For
to
who can say?
Their funding.
I've worked in legislative councils. Like, this debate could go to like 4 a.m. That's what these guys do. I mean, I think they're in committee stage right now from the way they're carrying on. Taryn says Avi is playing World of Warcraft on his second monitor. Do people even play World of Warcraft anymore?
They're racking up.
Maybe we should start a stream of consciousness World of Warcraft clan, because I really enjoyed playing World of Warcraft, but I haven't done it in years.
Education minister to ensure that they were incorporated into the school.
Yeah, Matt, I think you're right. I think they are. Just waiting for that. I just had an idea for how we can really fuck with them. Hold on.
For next year to ensure students are being taught the current.
I do know a few guys in the Victorian upper house. So I'm going to just see if someone can mention my name instead. Like that time I got John Ruddock to start quoting me in the chamber.
That the previous education minister, the Premier,
We'll see if anyone bites. Probably not. They take themselves pretty seriously in there.
And it is being reviewed on a regular basis.
Matthew August says as if Monica would have a clue about parliamentary process. Yeah, she's never struck me as someone who's that switched in on that kind of stuff. But you know what she does know a lot about, dude? Electromagnetic fields. And they're everywhere. And, you know, they're torturing her gran. I watched a YouTube video about it.
And noting that you have indicated...
All right, guys, we're on 4.8. He's on 4.9.
But can the government confirm what
We've been streaming for 55 minutes. How long have they been streaming for? Hours.
Noting that
We're about to cross. Well, we've done it, guys. We've done it. We now have more viewers than Avi Yemeni's live debate live stream. I'm just going to take a quick screenshot.
Translation into community languages is
hold on, I'm going to tweet it
for the VEC, and in terms of
there you go.
100 questions.
This particular legislation,
They sound so tired. Anyway, we've turned it off now. Well done, guys. Well done, everyone. Unfortunately, I can't post pictures in the chat, but I'm just going to quickly tweet this. We did it, guys. Yeah, there you go. And there you go. I told you we'd be able to do it before I play my piss break anime edit. So I'm extremely happy with that. Well done, everyone. I'm sure you all worked really hard to retweet this amongst your friends. Iron Deficiency Anima says, we need Drew to watch this stream live and then have Beck start a space about that stream. Actually, that's doable. We could have me watching Avi's stream and then Drew watching me watch Avi's stream and then have them do a space on it and then have one of the Nazis go and rumble with it. That would just create a full kind of Australian politics singularity. I wonder if, well, Sebastian says we probably caused the single biggest view spike for Avi on his stream. I don't think we would have because I was just streaming it in here. So, I mean, they would have increased it by 1, unless you guys are all going on there, which I said not to. Well done, guys. I'm really proud of everyone. And I was serious. I am actually going to go for a quick bathroom break now. So we've got a new, it's not actually an Oscar edit. It's a Mari Illustrious edit, which I knew would be controversial because I know many people say Mari is not best girl. I dispute this. I think Mari's pretty good. But anyway, enjoy this while I run to the bathroom.
What you think about me, I don't care. I'm a classic real defaulter. The girls you need over there. Oh, baby, you're so fine, you blow my mind. Jump into the driving seat and put it into speed. Riding through the streets on a different frequency. No, you know just what I mean. We're running through the red light. Oh, baby, you're so fine, you blow my mind. Jump into the driving seat and put it into speed. Riding through the streets on a different frequency. No, you know just what I mean. We're running through the red lights. Red lights, red lights, red lights, red lights, yeah. Red lights, red lights, red lights, red lights, yeah. Red lights, red lights, red lights, red lights, yeah.
Yo, welcome back. One of you just sent me a text about something. Hold on. It was about shitting on the electoral legislation, but I've lost it. That was fun. I do find throwing one of those on in the middle really improves my performance because it is hard to just sit here and talk nonstop for 2 hours. Maybe I'm the one that's been doing it wrong. Maybe Avi's like got this figured out, where you just live stream and you just don't talk, and people just sit there watching you, biting your nails and tapping away on the keyboard. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. I don't know. What I want to talk about in the second half of the stream is something really exciting that's been going on online this week that you should all get behind, from my erstwhile colleague Brian Marlow, who runs Revive Australia, the closest we have to an actual radical right think tank. He has put out this week a policy paper on remittance taxes. I've retweeted it a couple of times in the last couple of days, so please go and give it a look. I'm going to bring it up now and we're going to talk about it a little bit. This is something that if you do come on the show a lot, you've probably heard us talk about. I think we've been talking about this now for like 12 months probably. The idea that, one of the biggest drivers of Australia's mass migration crisis is the fact that Australia is an easy mark for economic migrants who would not, under normal circumstances, contribute that much, but they can come to Australia. They can get welfare, they can bring their parents out. And we also have this, we've got a lot of excellent banking technology here, and they can just send all the money they earn home. And when people on, further to the right than me talk about remigration, and they talk about, well, how do you fix this? How do you fix the demographics in our country? Which is like super difficult. I don't think that's really viable. What remittance taxes are is a form of passive remigration, because it's nudge theory at work. You're going to take these cohorts of people and you're going to put them in a position where they have to choose between those countries like Australia, the UK, New Zealand, and Canada being the worst offenders, the countries that have become magnets for economic mass migration. If you slap a whopping great remittance tax on, suddenly Australia is a lot less attractive, right? It means that, people will still come here and work in high-skilled jobs where they can get them, because in so many of those programs, the person leaves the country with the money. And in fact, they get things like tax rebates. So they get access to the superannuation. The Pacific Islander migration scheme, the PALM scheme, which I know isn't everyone's liking, but if you talk to a lot of folks in construction, a lot of folks in agriculture, it's keeping their businesses afloat. That's actually not a bad scheme, because those guys come over here, they have to have a job, they work for X number of years, and then they leave and they can't come back. And they leave with a massive chunk of cash in their pocket, right? So they're not just mailing half their paycheck over every week. They're working towards a target of going home with, I've heard stories about Pacific Islanders going back, cashing out $40,000 in superannuation and living like kings. Good for them. And this is what we need to shift to. This is the kind of migration we need to shift to in our country if we're going to fix things. So please read Brian's policy paper. Give Brian, me, and everyone else feedback on your thoughts on it. If you are one of the sock puppets with access and influence to One Nation, try and get it in front of your One Nation local candidates. Try and take it to your One Nation branch meetings and talk about it. Start getting people excited about this because, we think it's going to be one of the most important policies that anyone can take to the next federal election. We're getting some good feedback already. Matt says its visuals are good and easy to read. I'm pretty sure that's Canva AI, but, it's a good use of AI, that's for sure. What else were we going to cover this week that we haven't? I mean, wasn't it interesting? We've had Albo, the Albo Melon Gate come back this week. You guys notice that? I'd completely forgotten that happened. That seems like it happened a year ago when he went on that podcast and just started saying sexist things, which is still pretty funny when you look back on it. It kind of got a resurgence this week because apparently they leaked a diplomatic cable from Japan saying in true Japanese style, hey, maybe we should just ignore this because the Australian media is sensationalist and we don't care. So of course the Australian media straight away reported that and sensationalized it, which is pretty typical. Yeah, Albo, you dirty dog, as Theophilus Bartholomew says. That proud white bloke from down under says, what was the percentage rate suggested? After a lot of head scratching and, sorry, my reaching, it's why I stupidly kept my beer behind the computer. We went with 30%. I think if you go back through my Twitter, I think some early models we did, I started modeling at like 5% and then worked our way up. I think the highest I modeled was 25%. But the Laffer curve, that is the point at which the high rate of taxation will incentivize avoidance, was like on every model was between 33 and 39. So this is this is still within that margin. And look, a lot of the money I think needs to be used on better policing, particularly around things like hawala payments, and any attempt to avoid it. Let's just go back to the chat because we've got a few guys streaming right now. What is everyone else doing? Avi is not catching up, by the way. Monica Schmidt's talking right now. Yeah. No, we're not going back to that. Swing State says mortgage lending has dropped 20%. Yeah, I saw a statistic like that recently. Geez, the feds have just really dropped the ball on housing policy, right? Who would have thunk it? I'm shocked these guys failed at that. I'm so shocked. How many Australians have we got going into negative equity now? What's going to happen with inflation? What's going to happen with interest rates? And now mortgage lending's down, which means bank profits are going to be down, which is the anchor for the entire Australian GDP. I mean, I guess they're just going to have to let in more migrants to fix it. That's the only option, right? Right. It's a basket case out there. Did you see NAB business confidence report was out? I think it was out. Yesterday, and I mean, it's across some parts, it's like down 20%. Yeah, Matthew Auger, who I understand actually knows about this stuff, says CBA results tomorrow. A real acid test for mortgage demand. Yeah, I mean, actually, Matthew, you might be able to answer this though. Like, when we talk about mortgage demand, are we talking is that just the individual mortgages that are issued, or is that the quantum value of them? Because could it not be that with the government guarantee with the drop in housing prices, with first homeowner grants and things, could there not be the same number of mortgages, but they're worth less? Could that be it? I don't know. I don't understand how they account it, but that would be interesting to consider. Because if the quantum was worth less, but the number of mortgages had gone up, like that would actually look really good for the government. The government could say, well, hey, heaps more people are getting mortgages, but the amount the mortgage is being taken out for is not the same. But I don't know how they actually count them. Buyback Capital, one of the wisest finance guys we have in our scene, is saying the policy is having the desired effect. Absolutely. This is what they wanted the whole time. Yeah. Rowan says there'll be big swings to the Libs in the Vic election in Teal seats due to Labor crashing the housing markets. Look, I don't know if it's crashing. I don't think that's the case. But certainly, people are certainly feeling an impact. Weirdly, not in Tasmania. Weirdly, not even in my neighbourhood where I am in Glenorchy. Apparently, we have the most buoyant housing market in the country now. Sorry. What else we got? Swing State says they want everyone to live in state housing. Yeah, except they don't build any state housing, do they? Bully Bullpen wants my opinion on Georgism and a land value tax. I personally just think that the home itself is not something we should tax at all. And like if I was in charge, if the sock puppets revolted, then we wouldn't tax static assets at all. We'd only tax productive assets. Matthew Auger confirms number of mortgages declined 20% post-budget. So, yeah, that's bad. That's real bad. The number of mortgages, he clarified the number of new mortgages. So they've gone to all this effort. They've had all these policies to supposedly build more houses. They've started handing out free cash for deposits. They've got first homeowner schemes, then topped up in every state. Then they've got stamp duty exemptions in most states. Housing prices are going down, and no one is going out to get a new mortgage. That's crazy. Philip Biggs says Tas housing prices gone up while others have gone down. Mainlanders moving down without any clue what they're walking into. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I actually don't know if that is the reason. I mean, it feels like that could be the reason. And my family's selling a house at the moment, and we were talking to a real estate agent the other day who said that out of the last 8 or so houses she'd sold, like she hadn't sold a single one to a Tasmanian. That they were all being sold to either mainlanders coming down, mainland investors, or even some being sold sight unseen to investment kind of groups. So, I mean, maybe it is being considered a safer spot, mate. I don't know. I actually don't know that much about the housing market at all. I worked in planning, but that was all about the paperwork for building them, not really the managing them afterwards. Buyback Capital says Georgism should be the last resort. Let's have a genuine free market in homes before we add more taxes. Yeah, I mean, this has always been my point. And because it's not a free market. And it's been a while since I've gone on this rant, so I'm going to go on it again. It's one of my favorite rants about like the housing economics. And when I clip it later, I'll just omit that bit where I said I don't really know enough about housing, but that's kind of exaggeration. The reason why we don't have a free market in housing is because no one has access to good information on housing, right? And that's one of the driving factors behind kind of logarithmic increases in housing prices over time, and why you're not seeing a logarithmic decrease when market conditions change. If you look at the stock exchange, what is the defining feature of the stock exchange? It is near perfect information on price. That's how people are able to make the informed decisions. You've got a stock ticker. You can see what the stocks are worth at every point in time, in nowadays down to a second. In fact, probably a fucking microsecond, right? So everyone knows what everything's worth all the time. And this allows savvy investors to enter the market low and make money through arbitrage, right? But you can't do that in the housing market unless you get lucky, or unless you have inside information, or unless you spend money on very expensive information, right? Real estate agents aren't compelled to publish house sale prices in public. You know, some of them will advertise it, but they won't advertise it down to more than like the, 10% of the sale price, right? They won't tell you the dollars and cents on it. You won't know exactly how much. That's what we need to fix to have a free market in housing. When a house is sold, there is so much paperwork that goes into selling a house. I've just discovered this. Like, you now have to do like anti-money laundering checks and shit like that. You cannot tell me that on the day a house settles, that the federal government, through a federal housing regulator, couldn't get live data on how much that house sold for. And that therefore Australians wouldn't be able to go on a website and see live data on how much every house in the country is selling for at any one time. Why can't we have that? That seems like the easiest thing in the world. If you did that, imagine how much healthier our market would be. Imagine how much more informed people would be about their decisions about where to move and why to move there and how much to spend on their move. Because you go to all this effort to go and look at houses and to go take out a loan, and then you got to figure out how you're going to get the kids to school. You got to figure out transport. You got to do all this stuff. And you really don't know how much it's going to cost because you don't have that much clarity on how much the price of the house is going to be. But if you had that, you would change the entire country's economy overnight. Right? As Frank says, people roughly know what each house sells for anyway, so it's not really a privacy issue. You're right, but it's that roughness in the data that I think is leading to the bad outcomes. Because when you're looking at, $1 million houses, and, they'll say, oh, well, it's sold for like 1.2 million, right? No, it didn't. It would have sold for 1.2 something million. And people don't know how much that is. And when you're talking about bidding, when you're talking about the actual value of something, you should be able to go down to the dollars and cents on it. Buyback Capital says it's extremely crazy you have to compete for housing in a country in which you work, live, and pay taxes with foreign nationals. Exactly right. It is extremely crazy. Where else even does this? It's really not that many places that do this. But they're not about to stop. No one other than One Nation is talking about stopping it. Yeah. Ben says every house is individual, unlike a share. Well, but again, remember, a share isn't, the share price is the company's price. It's the unit of something you're buying. Right? Every company is individual. Every share actually is individual. Every actual stock is individual. So I still think the comparison is apt. Swing State says, and get real estate agents to put the price on their ads. Yeah, why not? Hasn't the country been embroiled in a debate about who can advertise what, where, and when for how long now? Let's get into that. If we're going to ban gambling advertising, well, let's start dictating to real estate agents what they can and can't advertise. Of course, one of the reasons I don't want to get into this is because in our, collapsing media market, housing media, so Domain and REA, are really the only buoyant parts, So, no one wants to piss them off. Skull says Avi and Co are still just sitting there in silence. See, that's crazy. Meanwhile, I've gone on like 3 distinct rants since then. Just raw dogging it. I don't even have a screen. I don't even look at other screens. I don't have like a script, or I don't even look at other websites. You can tell when I'm looking at another website because when I click off the StreamYard screen, you can see that the lighting changes, right? So I don't actually look at anything other than this. This is all just raw dogging it, right? I could talk like this for hours. Actually, I can't. I usually get tired. It's one. We've been doing it for 1 hour, 19 minutes now. I can probably go for another 45 minutes. Bully Bullpit says, John, have you done theatre? No, but I once took acting classes. An ex-girlfriend bought them for me for my birthday. And I did take them. It was 4 acting classes. And I really enjoyed it. Like, it was great. And maybe I should do theatre. Thing is, I really only have enough time for one hobby. So if I did that, I'd probably have to give this up. Yeah, I'm surprised actually I wasn't a drama kid, but I went to a pretty rough and tumble school. I don't think I couldn't have had this haircut there. And if I did, I certainly couldn't have been a drama kid. Who else we got? Oh, this is interesting. MB Duckman says, got to get around the Property Mate Chrome add-on. Lets you see hidden price data on the real estate website. That's interesting. I might have a look at that. I'm just so morbidly curious about Avi. Do you guys mind if we go back and mock him for a bit? I think we're going to do it. Let's do it. He's on 5,001. We're on 8,000. Here we go. There is a lot of fucking around to do it. Hold up. Yeah, we're in. Oh, why is it doing that? Oh, I got to add it to the stage. Yep, there you go.
And this amendment places an impossible burden on
Monica just said something.
the arbiter of such a loss, so we will not be supporting.
But she didn't finish her sentence.
Mr. Lindbergh?
Thank you, Deputy President.
Oh, we got this guy
From
again.
the Minister, then, is it the government's position that it's not possible to implement this amendment that Mr. Wallman is proposing?
Oh,
Is
actually,
that
but
what you're
now
saying?
it's
Because
although we are now
the
doing this,
causality is
Iron Deficiency Artemis just
unable to
reminded me to talk about the implications of Trump's yen trade. I might save that though,
Clearly
because I think there's more to come on that.
reasons why the government will not be supporting the amendment. We think that it would be extremely difficult and
I don't even know how many amendments are on. If any viewers, and I've got messages, but my phone's being janky.
In these matters,
If anyone's got a copy of the notice paper, tell me how many more amendments there are.
Mr. Wallman?
Thank you, Deputy President. I might just point out, for the Minister's edification, in respect of a registered political party, if the party...
I reckon that'd be
is
great,
able
a
to
play
hold
about
Parliament,
Nixon.
they lose
I don't know about me as
lose
Spiro,
the
though.
Parliament at the
I guess I am
general election
Greek.
as a consequence
Half
of this.
Greek.
So basically...
About as
it's
Greek as
only
Spiro,
us.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any further comments?
They look like they're winding up in there just quietly.
Greens will not be supporting
What's
this amendment.
what's
While
Monica doing?
understand,
I reckon Monica's got filters. Hey.
Point here, and I hope that the VC will apply.
Also,
just
Avi and Rukshan like blow all this money on their advanced
personal
studios
circumstances into account. I think
and
it's very
their
hard
great
to
cameras, which of course we don't have. I stream off a Logitech
whether
like
there's DVTs or not,
old-fashioned
quite frankly.
US. It's not even a USB
if,
camera. It plugs into like a
in advance.
AVI
So it's hard
port.
it's hard to attribute the change in electoral system to the loss of the
But
seat.
they look so
I'm not
good,
sure
and
how
poor
it-
Monica looks terrible. Also, is Monica wearing a suit?
Post-election, short of them getting.
Did
a
she
full
get
quota.
she get
So
dressed
I
up for
think
it?
That if I'm not quite sure how
Avi and Rukshan are making me feel bad for Monica at this point.
would be able to be interpreted.
That lady on now, she has beautiful hair. I don't know who that MP is, but she's definitely she's been Christian S. Frizzies maxing, which I do as well. You can't see it because of the background blocking it out, but there's zero frizz. It was beautiful and straight. I got an amazing haircut on Tuesday last week. No, Wednesday last week after the stream.
I think rather reflects that people might have been elected to this place through reasons.
This guy's wearing a tie, but it's too long.
And voter support anyway,
And he has sinister little goblin ears.
without
Why don't
sort
you
of
take some of that
foreshadowing
money out of
what
the
might be to come. As
I don't
result
trust
of
him.
the bill, I
taxpayer
wouldn't
dollars.
He looks like one of the
support this
smaller and more intelligent orcs from Lord of the Rings.
foreshadow an outcome and tie it to.
Foyd says my hair looks gorgeous. Thank you, Foyd.
Are there any further comments?
Yeah.
If not, the question is that Mr. Borman's amendment number 3.
Wait, was that Evan Mulholland?
Say aye.
I think I used to work with
Anyone you
him.
know?
I think he used to be a New South Wales political staffer.
I'll just ring the bell for 1 minute.
Oh, they're going to a division. Listen, let's all listen, because maybe when they go on a division, these guys will actually say something. I feel like it's voyeuristic.
I don't know what the point of that is, but people in the comments have definitely picked up on the fact that it
Did
is
the
kinda
volume
like,
go
you
up?
know, they're getting through that system where they pay off that guy legally, and now they because they got in through that system, somehow the public are responsible. So at the end of the day, we'd be paying for it, right? So how does that
Why?
work?
Why should we pay? Like, you know what? You've taken hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years. Like that guy from Shooters and Farmers, he's been in there at least from 2018, probably longer. I don't know when he first got elected, but it's like, and it's always through doing a deal with the preference whisperer. So you've made like,
Over $1 million.
yeah, more. Yeah,
Yeah.
well over $1 million.
I guess I can kind of get behind them sledging Glenn
pay what it'd
Drury.
get
I've
you
always
to get
hated that
these
guy.
things.
Mr. Borman's amendment number 3 be agreed to. Those
same
voting in
scam that
favour of
got
the
you
amendment,
in,
I
now
vote
you
to
can
stand in
use it.
place now.
So what I'm thinking is maybe they had some kind of beef with Drury.
It's a waste of time and money. Like, if you, this is how they operate every day. Why would I ever want to serve in that? Why would you?
Thank you. You can resume your
How
seats.
much
Those
money
voting
costs-
against, I invite you to stand in
They were
place
never
now
gonna
and
win it.
indicate
Like,
my
why
vote
did you
is
just
with a
vote
no.
on
They're
it?
just so inarticulate as well. This is the first time I've ever actually
already know
watched
what the
them
numbers are gonna
stream. Like,
4,
they're not
3 or 5.
they're not very engaging, are they? Like, I can't imagine someone tuning in for and I don't mean to sound conceited. Yes, I
Probably
do.
want to clip them. for
But
their
like,
own
I can't
content,
imagine
you know?
someone tuning in for an hour and a half to watch Avi and Rukshan when they talk like this.
Mate, they wanna, they're doing
Didn't
a
you-
Babette.
didn't you
They're
wanna-
enjoying their
I
last
guess
hour
they
in
just
Parliament.
Did
I
you
guess
wanna
they
get
must just
elected
rely
after?
on getting little clips and
I'm
things.
gonna free Palestine.
Have any of you managed to get into their comments, by the way? Because they're all from YouTube. I can't see a single comment from X. Who else we got in the chat? Jack Lancer says, "Soccer and close to double Avi's numbers now." Goddamn, hell yeah. I noticed something last week because I think we ended the stream a little earlier than usual, and when I do that, the quantum goes down. So like I think even if you went on now, that stream only has like 20,000 views, which is I think when we finished it was on like 16,000 views. So whenever the so sorry, I lost my train of thought because I had deficiency Anima posted stream of consciousness running down your leg. That's good. Someone do like the sock puppets send their regards. Or maybe a reference to. I mean, if you say McGoyam, I reckon Avi will just instantly ban you. Swing State says Drury has always preferenced against One Nation. Yeah, that was my understanding too. When I was knocking around Drury, well, not knocking around him, but like adjacent to him, when he was, doing preference whispering, which is always such a crock of shit. I can't kind of complain because I do the same kind of shameless self-promotion. Like, I'm no more like a master of the dark arts than Glenn Drury is the preference whisperer. It's just good marketing, right? But I do recall from that period where he was stomping around Parliament trying to do deals that he didn't like doing deals with One Nation for some reason. I think it's because he had like a really, really basic mathematical equation for how it worked. And I never really cared about it that much, but it'd be interesting. I know he appears in a couple of books by various minor party figures that have been written over the years where they do kind of go into what his actual process was. Next time we have Ruddock on the show, or maybe even Latham, because I'm hyping in like maybe next week to try and get all the shows like top G's on for the 1 year anniversary. So actually get Brian on, get Mark back, maybe get Taylor Martin. We might even have a special live appearance from David Cameron because I really enjoy Ross Cameron because not David Cameron, that would be weird. From Ross Cameron because I enjoy his company even if you guys don't. We might do that for the 1 year anniversary. And then I might ask those guys actually how the preference deal thing actually worked. So someone actually confirmed for me in the chat that, yeah, that is Evan Mulholland, worked for the IPA, married Bridget Meany, who went to the Opus Dei Girls' School in Sydney. Bridget Meany was the one I worked with. I think that's where I know him from. Anyway, hi, Evan. This is probably the largest audience Evan Mulholland has ever had. Ben just dropped in to say, can't hurt to ask David Cameron. Yeah. Guys, vote for it in the chat. Who would be like, nothing like impossible. Like, I'm not saying like, you know, resurrect Julius Evola, but who would be the coolest possible guest we could get on if, like, you know, there was no impediments, like them not knowing who I am? Like, who would be the most fun? Fat Retard, what are they watching? They're watching the Victorian Upper House debate a bill on group vote tickets, which Avi Yemeni believes he caused. Yeah. Swing State says he charges each candidate $50,000. That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. We got a lot of crazy people in here. I mean, Australia says Auntie Pauline. I'd watch people interview Pauline. I would love to do it, but I don't think I'm a good person to do it. I think Brian could do it. I don't think I could do it. Bully Pulpit says, I think we'd have a great time with JD Vance. I mean, JD and I have read all the same books. You know, I've read his book. We have very similar discursive styles in our writing. You know, I think I could really get behind that. I don't think he would come on though, just quietly. Iron Deficiency Anima says Moldbug. Dude, that is probably actually possible. That's conceivable because he follows me, and I don't know. Maybe if I just hit him up, maybe he'd come on. There's probably historic issues why Barnaby wouldn't come on the show, but that would be fun. I would like to get Nick Land on. Like, that would be amazing. Jacinta Short says Moira. Says get Moira on. I mean, is she running as an independent? I haven't been paying attention. Oh, someone managed to get into the someone managed to get into their chat. Well done, guys. Well done. But the chat's moving really fast. Let's have a look what their numbers are on YouTube. If they're really good, I'm not going to tell you what they are. But oh, that's weird. It says here he's not even live. No, he's live. Hang on, let's have a look. Guys, there are only 526 watching his stream on YouTube. Holy shit. How many people are watching our stream on YouTube? Okay, 36. All right. I got really excited for a second there. I thought we were just massively mogging Avi tonight, but yeah, okay. We generally get about 500 or so viewers on YouTube, but it's all after the fact because we've just never ever promoted YouTube at all. Yeah, that's so bad. That's really bad for them. I don't feel bad for them, but are they? Oh, Monica's gone. Monica's gone offline, guys.
Yeah, guys, just before you go, make sure. So obviously we're getting closer to the final
Here we go.
vote, and once the vote comes out, we're going to hit publish on our breaking news. Make sure to go out there and share the news. Don't let.
I'm learning
the
a lot
Labor Party
right
or the
now. This is
mainstream
how you're
media
meant to stream.
own, deflect, ignore. You know, we know, they know what the truth is. So make sure to share the stories and smash the live stream, like it, subscribe. Actually, subscribe whatever channel you're watching on this on now, because we've got an amazing live stream coming.
If,
So you
if
want
you're
to
watching, if
notification,
you're
make sure
watching
whatever
this
channel
on
you're
Stream of
watching.
Consciousness, if you're watching RV's live stream on Stream of Consciousness, don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button, guys. I think that's the first time I've ever said it. I don't think we've ever said to people, like and subscribe. It feels bad coming out of my mouth. I'm never going to do that again. Jack Lancer said, get Dave Hughes on. I mean, that'd be funny. I don't know, man. Like, I mean, I think that going back to my point at the beginning of the stream, like, maybe I'm just getting old and moderate, and I've lived in Tasmania for too long without having to worry about all the hellish, nightmarish, inner metropolitan bullshit you guys put up with. But I am mellowing on so much stuff, and, you know, the cookery is kind of getting to me. Like, please just try and be normal. What else we got? Yeah, I feel maybe wait, now I feel invested in it. Maybe I feel like I want to know what the vote is. I can't be bothered going back. We got Holly Valance, putting Holly Valance on. Hey, did she end up running for One Nation? Yeah. Fat Retard says, get a crazy Liberal City of Melbourne or City of Sydney councillor on. I do know a couple of City of Sydney councillors. There's a really good one called Lyndon Gannon, who's always fun, who I get along with, and he's really good on like nighttime economy stuff. Maybe we'll talk to him. I don't know. Once I get my journalism assistance fund money, we're actually going to build a White Lodge set. And I'm going to wear the like black and white suits that Kyle MacLachlan wears on Twin Peaks. And we're just going to sit on a big red couch. It's going to be like meticulously made. That's what I'm going to spend your taxpayer money on. Okay, David Dean says, get the Chris Minns gutter stomp chick on. She was hot, man. She was hot. I'm a sucker for stacked redheads. And, you know, good on Chris for not biting on that one. That would have been such an easy, like, kind of, you know, story to jump on and, you know, have a whinge in front of the cameras, and Chris didn't do that. So, I like Chris Minns. I know it's a controversial view, but Taryn says she was mid. Come on, man. Come on. Boyd says she was below mid. And Boyd is, I think, the only woman in the chat tonight, so I guess the expert has weighed in. Someone just suggested Abby Chatfield would be good. And I'm kind of going off Abby Chatfield now. Abby Chatfield's getting into, like, cooker territory, like the progressive cooker zone. So I don't know if she's the right fit for the show anymore. Tay says, so mean. I don't think we're being mean. I respect women. Guys, it's been a fun show. We're almost at the end. I'm just constantly going back and seeing what this division's doing with these guys. I think we're just gonna have to plow through, guys, and watch it. I'm just too invested now. I'm way too invested. I'm gonna put it back up. Like, officially, the show is now over. Imagine I've wrapped up, but Matt says, yeah, I asked. No, that was the one we're talking about. The one that I asked to marry me. That was the redhead. I got to turn the bells down. Avi, turn the bells down on your stream so I don't have to turn your stream down.
Listen to, guys, ladies and gentlemen, make sure before you go, so at the end of this bell, we're going to hear the official "it passed."
Yeah, great. This is it. This is the end.
Smash that like button. Like I said, subscribe, share the news that we're just sharing out now. I know it's going to be official in about a minute and a half.
Official.
But,
Avi Yemeni has defeated the Victorian
head to
Parliament.
Victoria.com, and you can scan the QR code as well to support the work.
Scan the QR code on the screen or go straight to the URL.
Oh, why don't we have a barcode?
I tell you, and that's where you can help cover the costs of us getting.
The problem is, like, the
to
kind of
this
guys who
point,
view my
and
stream,
we
if,
were
if I had a
able
barcode
to
up there, you'd all think it was some kind of
and none
scam
of
that
this
I was going to, like,
possible without
harvest
your
your
help.
information.
Unless you believe the Labor Party and it was all just by chance, coincidence. It's
Yes.
a miracle.
Just so happened to do it after 12 years, you know, just like, oh yeah, this is the one.
So they've got this conspiracy theory that somehow they caused
No one
this.
believes you.
Somehow. I still don't understand it. We really should have gotten someone on to actually go into detail on it. I mean, so many of you are Victorian. I'm surprised none of you came on.
You're tagged on a cross post there. And I'll do another one soon.
You've been sock-mogged. Avi's been sock-mogged. Yeah, Avi went from doing tiny rallies with Sons of Odin to Internet E-Celeb to getting mogged by Stream of Consciousness. Yeah. Yes, Taryn, their views are fake. Our views are real. All our views are organic. There's 10,000 of you. You guys that are posting, you're just a tip of the iceberg. It's just that because the average sock viewer is so high agency, they can't post because they work for, you know, Lockheed Martin and Palantir. So then they can't actually post. But trust us, there's 10,000 of you out there. Way more than RP gets. Foyd, who actually, I mean, this is typical, like the only woman in the chat is the only one who's done the research. Well done, Foyd. Labor has legislated against the GVT to try to prevent electoral wipeout. Well, there you go.
Make sure to turn it up.
I really wish.
Get to turn it up as
I really wish someone had said that at the beginning.
Hours, miss the best bit.
Sockheed Martin. That's fantastic. We're running with that. You know, that's an interesting point. Can Avi now just change the name of the Free Palestine Party to the Avi Yemeni Party? Like, how's this going to work? Or is his plan to go to the election and actually run the Free Palestine Party in the hope that idiots will vote for it? Oh, actually, I lied. We've got Wild Colonial Girl says there's more than one woman in the chat. Here we go.
2026. Can I invite members who are voting for the third?
That guy looks like if I tried to draw Mark Latham from memory. Is this it? Is this the vote? I don't know how the Victorian Legislative Council works. How does it work, guys? The anticipation is killing us. Anticipation.
Have you got it up?
Yeah, it's up, man. I don't know where the audio is.
They say, I don't know where the audio is. Like, they got a whole fucking studio of guys twiddling knobs and shit. It's just a slider on your screen, dude. You're alone in your mother's basement. I just want to see how it ends so I can end my stream. Here we go.
Your seats.
Monica's back.
Who are voting against the third reading to now stand in their place.
Well, yeah, it's clearly it's passed, I guess.
It's well and truly passed. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. We have officially made history. Thanks to everyone at home.
Thank you, members. You can return to your seats.
You to Monica.
The result of the division is ayes 33, noes
Right,
4.
so
Therefore, the third reading is passed.
they've made history
Secretary
somehow?
Sandler,
Like, what?
28. The bill will be returned to the
Okay.
Assembly with a message informing them that the Council has agreed to the bill.
Why did
without
Monica
amendment.
leave, though, for the most important bit, and then she came back? And why was he thanking Monica? What did Monica contribute to this?
That's it. They can do that. We don't have to worry about that. But it's passed.
We're turning this off now.
Victoria.
Okay. I feel like they're just going to spend the next hour just congratulating themselves for whatever it was they did or didn't do. And that's the end of our stream, Sock Puppets. Thank you for tuning in. No one knows what was going on there. I mean, we covered some interesting stuff tonight. It was a pretty boring week in politics anyway, so I'm glad we had something to talk about. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe on my channel, not on theirs. We'll be back next week, hopefully for a bumper issue that I'm going to put some effort into, in terms of actually getting people on. Yeah, thank you all for tuning in. Thanks for the laughs. Tonight's edit for our exit edit is not a laughing matter. I found this absolutely haunting and beautiful edit from one of my favorite movies, On the Silver Moon. So that's how we're closing it out tonight. So until next Tuesday, everybody stay conscious.
Ja jestem zgodny, ty nie. Ja jestem odbiciem tego, co w tobie, ty nie jesteś odbiciem tego, co we mnie. Powiedz jedna tylko rzecz mnie zaciekawia, Ziemia, planeta, skąd przychodzisz? Co to jest?